Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Legion Developer Update for April 2026. I'm Will Schick, the VP of Creative Development and Strategy.
I'm Will Pagani, the Game Development Director. Hello.
Hello. We're really excited to be here with you today. We have a lot of content to cover in terms of things happening for Legion starting off for the year of 2026 and our first development update. Of course, we will have another one of these in November as well. Continuing the process, so we'll talk a little bit more about what to expect and what's on the docket for that November update after we get through all the stuff that is actually happening for the April update. It's pretty exciting. We thought we'd start off with the most boring part of the entire presentation.
Not to say that it is boring, but like the most boring.
I mean, it is the most boring part.
But I personally love numbers. So
That's true.
I think it's pretty exciting.
You are a developer.
Yes.
So we're going to kick things off with talking about the few points adjustments that are going to be happening across the game for this update, and we're going to kick things off with Rebels. So go ahead and walk us through everything that they're seeing on this chart.
Everything on the chart. So Bad Batch is really great, and they're doing really great things, maybe a little too great things. So they're going to go up by 10 points. You're going to see that same thing in the Republic version as well. So get ready, Republic players, for that one. They're just pushing a little too strong. They have a little too much output, a little too much survivability for that kind of thing. So instead of nerfing some type of rule or something, we decided to bump them up 10 points. Rebel Commandos, however, are a hyper-durable sort of long-range unit, but they haven't quite found their place yet. So they're coming down 6 points. There's also a little more going on with them that we're going to talk about when we start talking about rules changes.
Bury the lead on that one, but we do have some other things that are going to be coming that will make the points adjustment also kind of come into effect.
And then Rebel Sleeper Cell. We took the Marksman, and you're going to, Empire players, you're a spoiler, you're going to see something similar here for the Riot Squad Marksman, which is we dropped them essentially down to just an extra guy in points, and then you get this action that you can take if you would like with the Marksman as a bonus there. So a very significant point decrease there on the Rebel Marksman for the Sleeper Cell. Once again, just to kind of give them their place, right? Find that kind of thing. And then Wookiees, which I know are a exciting topic for some people here.
Some folks. Most people who go X and 1 really like them.
Oh, God. That sounds great. Yes, I love that. So they're coming down pretty significantly in points there. They're also now the same points. We did a lot of math. Numbers, boring. Love it. I personally enjoyed it quite a bit. And we came to the conclusion that these units should essentially be priced the same amount. So they both are at 62. There is also a little bit more excitement coming from them, but this is not our large Wookiee update. That I'm burying every lead, every single bullet
you're
point
not
on
even following the format here. You're just going rogue.
You can't have chat. You can't have chat writing.
You don't even know what they're doing right now.
I promise you, if we were like 7 points off Wookiees and we're done, they'd be like
7 points off
riots
Wookiees
in the streets. But that's fine. There's more coming in the future for Wookiees. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. There we go.
All right, next faction, please.
Iden's ID10 Seeker Droid. 1, beautiful name. I love ID10. It's just so fun to say.
Yeah.
But 2, it's now free. 0 points.
0 points.
And we got to there because it's just a really cool little guy, and we want to see him on the table. And that was a nice way to bump up Iden. We felt that Iden's stack card in general was great and kind of where we wanted to be, but we wanted to give her a little bump. So how we did that was taking the Seeker Droid down to 0, give her those crazy rules there. Imperial Special Forces. Once again, not quite hitting the efficiency marks we wanted. Dropped him 8 points. Hopefully that helps them find a spot there. We dropped the heavy weapon 4 points, so we can get a little bit more efficiency there. Range troopers. That is not an arrow. That is a green arrow, not a red arrow.
It is.
Down 10 points.
We went into point balance debt to do this.
Yes, indeed we did.
Well.
And then, as spoken of earlier, the Stormtrooper Marksman for the Riot Squad is down 19 points. So maybe we'll see that Marksman on some tables and get a little aggressive with that.
It's an 11-point wound, right? I
Yes,
mean, like realistically.
And I mean, they still get all the weapons from a normal squad, right? So we're essentially pricing them as an extra like a add just one trooper in thing, and then you get that cool marksman ability, which if it's relevant, and you can use it. And if it's not, you got an extra guy.
Times it can matter.
There you go.
All right, and with that, that concludes Empire for the moment. So let's go ahead and jump to the next faction, which is going to be Republic.
Yes. So the ARF Trooper duo coming down 6 points. A pretty chunky decrease there, kind of encouraging those larger squads. I personally am an ARF Trooper fanboy. If you talk to me Adepticon, you know that. I have 3 full painted units. I love them. But the community does not necessarily share that, and the numbers don't necessarily share that. So we dropped him 6 points, which I'm a huge fan of personally.
I was going to say, it worked out doubly good for you.
Yes, I get extra benefit. And then the Bad Batch, we talked about that earlier. Same thing here, up 10. Saber class assault tank. Beautiful over there in the art. Got a little twin beam cannon there going. Down 10 points. Hopefully that helps it find its spot. The vehicles, large, especially the super large base ones, like the Saber Tank, kind of having a hard time maneuvering around some tables, things like that. Haven't quite found their spot yet in the new edition. So we're dropping them 10 and going from there. Then we see the same Wookiee changes here as well. So that is an across the board situation.
All right, now on to Separatists, which only have one adjustment for points anyway.
Yeah, I was like, hold on, just for points.
We're just in points. Would you stop spoiling everything?
Look,
That would just
man,
be nice.
You got to take the whole thing as a whole view.
Well, you can't because you can't put all the slides up at once.
That's true.
People wouldn't be able to read them.
That's true.
They'd
They
be
would be
very small.
Very, very small. So Maul, we had a pretty substantial point decrease on Asajj in the last update. We liked how that worked out. We have essentially mirrored that same type of situation here on Maul, and you're going to see this on other Maul as well in just a moment. I can't stop myself.
You just can't.
I have to get ahead of
Why
myself.
don't you just go ahead and jump to that Mercenaries points adjustment slide for us, Summer? Thank you.
So Maul in general and sort of these Force usury characters are all coming down a little bit here as well across the board. Yeah, so we got both Mauls. We got a Pike Syndicate Capo. There are, I'm not going to say it.
I mean, I'm blown away at this point.
Capo's coming down, hoping to increase the viability of some of the Pike Syndicate stuff a little bit here. We're pretty happy with where a lot of the other stuff is at in terms of like Black Suns and that kind of stuff. And then, of course, Wicket, our little guy, our little friend, is coming down 6 points as well. Kind of hoping to let him see some splash some places or just add a little bit more efficiency into Bright Tree Village.
Perfect.
So
right.
that is the end of our points updates.
Yeah, it is. And so many spoilers within those points updates as well.
But they don't have to wait very long for the spoilers because now's the time.
That's not true because we're going somewhere else. And Summer keeps giving you the finger, so I don't, not like a waggy finger.
Yeah.
It's a waggy finger.
Hold on.
So, all right. So yeah. So there is one more points adjustment slide before we conclude, which are some upgrades or having some points adjustments.
That's true. Yes, that
You're
is true.
so busy predicting the future, you can't stay in the
Well,
present.
it's because these are for the future.
Okay,
they don't know
sure.
why.
All right. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so attack protocols and defense protocols are coming down. That is because of the future, which we're going to talk about here very soon, which is changes to AI and droid troopers and things like that. So that's there. Saber throw, phenomenal card. Turns out 5 points to give some characters one of the best range attacks in the game. Might be a little low. So up to 10 on that one. And then vigilance. That one changed way back in the day. And we've seen it largely disappear, but we kind of like the gameplay that Vigilance is promoting now. So we kind of went halvesies on our increase on it from originally back down to 9 points.
A little bit of an adjustment back.
Yeah. Maybe that one you're taking isn't affected too much, but if you're taking 2 copies in your list or something like that, so like Rebels, things like that, you can get a little more consistency in there. I also personally really like it with clones. So
there you go. Everything you like apparently gets better, right?
Look,
Is that how it works?
did not write this.
Don't feed into the conspiracy theories. There are already enough of them out there.
Look, as a Republic player, I think we're doing just fine.
I see. All right, fair enough. All right, so that concludes the points. Obviously, for real this time. Yes. Thank you, Summer, for keeping Pagani sort of on track. I am failing completely at this.
I'm a loose cannon. What can
You
I say?
really are. You really are. Now let's talk about something that is not points related, but is army construction related, which is brand new battle forces. And I feel the need for speed for these battle forces.
Of these battle forces are kind of about speed, right?
Absolutely. Both are very transport or vehicle centric. The first one we have here, of course, is the Anaka gang. Folks have been waiting for this since the Weequay Pirates and Hondo Anaka released, along with that Wheelo 5 speeder tank. This army is a blast to play. Who knows if it will ever see a top table, but it is so much fun. It's got some really crazy transport rules with it as well. Hondo gets to pop out of a tank and then start soliloquying and monologuing and all that good stuff.
Doing all of his good stuff there. Yeah, this one is a very heavily mechanized force, right? So it's very much take transports, take swoop bikes, get in there, go crazy. So I like this one a lot. It's very different. And we talked about large bases and stuff. This is going to have them everywhere.
Yes.
Because those WLO tanks are giant.
They're on the large
pill base from the Persuader tank. Yeah.
And so something to note here, of course, is that this battle force has no commanders. You have one operative, and that is Hondo Anaka, who of course will lead the force. So this one is one of those battle forces that's pretty narrow in scope, but it does tell a very thematic tail on the tabletop and has some really fun kind of zippies to it in terms of how things deploy, what it can do. We had a lot of fun playtesting this. But it also pairs really great against this next force, which is the Rapid Interdiction Force, which is a new battle force for Separatist Alliance. This is, of course, your wheel bikes all day.
Every day.
Every day. It comes with a brand new Geonosian Warriors unit that reflects kind of needs of the battle force and the fact that you need to repair all of this mechanized stuff. So these Geonosians, while they are warriors, they also have some repair capacity as well on them. And this is another one that's just, it's really fun to play. This is like the dream force until we see that Jedi Bark one to go against it. You can definitely have all the speed with your wheel bikes, with your Geonosians, and of course it's got a pretty unique advantage rule as far as how the force plays, where you get to put these advantage tokens out and gain benefits from them as well.
You know, this one has a spoiler in it.
It does?
Has the Allied Heavy Droid Trooper.
That's
But
true.
don't worry, we're going to get there in like
We're going to get there
35 seconds.
very shortly, yes.
So I like this one a lot because you're playing this mini game with your command cards to generate speed tokens and stuff, and then they let you do kind of things. So it's really fun, really fun, very different, a good time. And look at that guy over there jumping with his Temu bike. He's zooming.
He's zooming pretty
they
fast.
have legs.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I think another really neat thing about this one is that we know Admiral Trench is coming later this summer, late summer, early fall. He, of course, can lead this force as well and do some really unique things with it, in addition to General Grievous on the wheel bike, of course, and your super tactical customizable droids, all part of the leader options. But yeah, one that we had a blast playtesting, watched the playtesters really put to the limits on. This force can do some wacky stuff, but it does definitely have counterplay to it as well. It'll be fun to watch as the community kind of adapts to that, and we always love introducing new battle forces.
Always a good time. Always a good time.
Always a good time. All right, I think it's time to get into the exciting meat of this update, which is there are several rulebook updates that are going to happen that are going to have some pretty significant impact overall. We've had approximately 18 months-ish of watching the community play with the game since the initial release of the print and play rules way back at Mini Stravaganza 2 years ago almost at this point. And we've been monitoring a couple of things that we changed pretty closely. One of those specifically being AI and how the AI changes have affected the overall play patterns. Were they bringing what we wanted to the game, all of that kind of stuff. The short answer is that AI wasn't quite hitting the beats. So this update is going to see a pretty significant overhaul to how AI works and how it will affect droid troopers in general. So take us away.
Well, hold on. So 1 second. Go back to that slide for one moment here, Summer. I just want to hit on what this list is.
They're too excited
So
now.
this is the list of everything that was changed in the core rulebook for this. The vast majority of these are clerical changes that will have, most people probably would know what changed or anything like that. It's to clean up rules, interactions, things like that. AI, of course, is one of the really big ones here. Yeah, and then we also added in some stuff like mechanized infantry. No, that's in 212. So yes, so that is what's going on here. This is mostly rules cleanup stuff, but AI is kind of the big one. And then some of these things like resiliency and trooper types, we're going to talk about in a moment. All right, into the future. Everybody screen capped it.
Everyone already is talking about it.
So AI is essentially completely changing on how it triggers. So if there's no longer a ranged tier commander required, if you are a suppressed trooper unit and you do not have a face-up order, your first action must be your AI. If it is not possible, you lose that action. So unlike old AI where you just got to do whatever you wanted or something like that, not an option anymore. You actually lose the action now. And then of course if vehicles are damaged or if vehicle units are below half strength, that's how they kind of get their thing because they can't be suppressed. So that's that. So it no longer has to do with proximity to commanders. And this couples with a couple other changes. There are unit card updates because some of the AIs were just like, oh, well, I wanted to do that anyway, so AI doesn't matter. So we went through and changed some of the AIs on some cards. Those are all going to be included in the update that is posted shortly after the stream, or maybe already posted, depending on how overzealous some people got. So that's what's going on with AI. Next slide, please. Now, we've got some new trooper units types coming in here, and this is very specifically relevant to things like aqua droids, so that's why we're putting it here with these kind of things. We have droid trooper. Droid trooper this is essentially a clerical change that is overridden by AI, right? So droid troopers say that they don't lose actions for being suppressed. But they can be suppressed, which will then trigger their AI, which will then either force them to do their AI or lose their action. So that's kind of what's going on there. And then heavy troopers are a new unit type. Heavy troopers are essentially creature troopers that are not creature troopers. This is now being applied to things like droidicas and aqua droids and things like that. The main difference here is that they do not block line of sight anymore. It is the primary change here. There are a couple other little things, but this is the big one. They also have a courage stat, for example. And then heavy droid trooper is a droid trooper plus a heavy trooper, essentially giving us aqua droids and droidicas. Yep. So this is certainly, I think the biggest change in here is that they no longer block line of sight, so you can no longer hide behind them, do things like that. That kind of gameplay, while I think was very interesting and very impactful inside the game, I don't think it was really the kind of thing that we were hoping for those units. And it is not the behavior that we wanted to see out of those, right? It was very gamey, it wasn't very thematic, it wasn't that kind of stuff. So that was why we ended up making this change. And yeah.
And like Pagani mentioned, aqua droids and droidicas are going to be changed from this. Their type is different, but they also now have courage values. They're no longer vehicles. So you're going to see that they have unconcerned and a couple of different changes as well to kind of make them fit into this whole new kind of adjustment to how the Separatist Alliance and AI and those types of things function.
Yes, so unconcerned said they can't have cover because they changed to a trooper. Now they could have cover. So this was kind of us doing that kind of thing to make the overall change not as large from what they currently do. So they should behave very, very similarly on the table with a few notable exceptions.
All right.
Next up.
All right, so let's talk about some more updates to strike teams this time.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about this with your preview teaser about Rebel Commandos and how some stuff was shifting. For those who paid really close attention to the Mandalorian announcement, which I think everybody in that chat probably did, you noticed that we kind of have the Mandalorian Warriors with this new type of strike team where they have a different unit type. And this was indicative of a change we had already planned to make to all strike teams in general. So strike teams now are going to all be support choices. And there are some other changes that are going to go along with them as well. But go ahead and just talk about what we see here in terms of that kind of change, the addition to low profile and prepared positions and those types of things.
Yeah, so incognito and prepared positions are kind of the two big changes here, and then obviously the rank as well. We also have some changes coming to the heavy weapons available to them, which we'll get to in just a moment here. And this is applying to all four. We have two slides coming up in just a minute for the other two strike teams for those factions. And the idea here, right, is to make this much more like a hidden team that is there doing a secret mission, that kind of stuff, to build a lot more flavor into those kind of things. This is your, like, we're dark, we're in the shadows, like that kind of stuff. I don't know. This is...
Yeah, they could do that.
Yeah.
They'll have communicators. It works.
It's much
let's
less
go
of
ahead
a
and
full
take a look at the
combat
other
unit,
two
right?
as well, just
Yes.
while we're talking about this.
Yeah, so Incognito, I think, does that a lot. Prepared Positions, I think, does that a lot. It gives them a lot of survivability and a lot of sort of like lying in wait feeling to it here.
Yeah, and you'll see the same changes on the next slide, which is going to be the ARC Troopers and the BX Commandos. Yeah, one of the big things that we wanted to do, was to kind of remove a little bit of the gamification of the fact that strike teams allowed you to heavily rely on the same order token, right? Which gave you easier access to command and control. It gave you, because already strike teams do a lot. They're a very cheap additional activation. Obviously, we're going to talk here in a bit about their primary role change, which goes into that prepared positions and incognito thing, which is that they're often taken, I would say 95% of the time, as a sniper team. And now we really wanted to play into that theme and that idea. And we also wanted to address the sniper rules in general because we weren't really happy with how they were working. The play patterns that we were seeing, they just didn't feel as exciting, and they weren't really fulfilling the fantasy or the narrative of what a sniper team was. And we wanted to provide some more opportunities and options for how you could utilize a sniper team. So sniper has dramatically changed, as have all the sniper weapons. So walk us through this whole process to get here.
I'm going to clarify you
Yeah,
here.
go ahead.
It is not all of the sniper weapons, it is just these four.
Oh, these four, sorry.
Yes. So other people that have sniper type weapons like Echo or Cassian Andor,
They obviously wouldn't work
Iden
with this
as
kind of
well,
like
yes.
new rule. Yeah.
So are not affected by this. This is very specifically for sort of the two-man strike team situation going on here. So what this is if the strike team doesn't move, it upgrades all of the dice on the weapon. And then if they roll a single crit, instead of proceeding through the attack steps, they may discard all of their dice to do one wound. And that means that you cannot dodge that wound. You cannot block that wound. There's no cover. There's nothing that interacts with this wound, essentially.
It's like a conditional force choke.
Yeah, from real far away.
Real far away.
Real far away. Very long-range force choke.
The overall thematic goal here was to kind of reflect the idea that a sniper team can do two different things, right? They can take all the time and prep to try to hit the headshot, or they can kind of rapid fire lay down some suppression. And this created some really incredible and fun moments within games where players would utilize the sniper team both in playtest and internally. They would roll the dice. They would see that they got the crit, but they also got a couple of additional hits, and so they'd have a really excellent roll. And now the decision was: do I want to gamble on doing two or more wounds potentially, and go through the saving process, or do I want to just get that guaranteed one?
It also let us reduce the price significantly on these weapons, right? Very low dice pools with Pierce get very consistent, right? So you have very high throughput that had to keep the points very, very high on those things to work out. Whereas this, capping it at just one wound, like really let us be like, oh, so kind of their ceiling is this, and that let us really lower the points on these.
And with the idea that the sniper teams and the sniper weapons in general for all 4 of these units were moving directly into the strike teams, we wanted to go back and look at the big units, as Pagani kind of like alluded to earlier with the commandos, and see about how to increase the effectiveness or the desirability of taking the heavies, the non-sniper heavies with those teams to really maximize what they want to do on the tabletop and to make them more viable or interesting choices for players. So let's go ahead and take a look at those updated weapon choices now, and we kind of walk through how this all works out.
Yep, so the first 3 cards there are your charges, right? We're familiar with kind of what these are. They're short range. They usually do a pretty good amount of damage. They do all that kind of stuff. They give you Assault 1 on your ranged weapons, which lets you upgrade dice when you're very close to things. And then the ARC Troopers did not have this, right? So we gave the normal unit a whole brand new upgrade that essentially is a juiced up ARC Trooper for 26 points, which is substantial, but adds 4 dice to the pool and has Overwhelm, which is a great keyword. So it gives sort of a option. Do you want to take a bigger ARC Trooper unit with more punch, or do you want to try and keep your efficiency down for your tactical and things like that to support the rest of your army? So that's sort of what's going on here. Yeah. So you could still take the strike teams with these if you want, but you could take the sniper rifle. But you can no longer take the sniper rifles inside of the large squads.
Correct. Yeah, sniper rifles are restricted purely to the strike teams at this point.
Yep.
This created a lot of really interesting options and opportunities for players as they built their lists. It also allowed us to really dial in kind of how these teams want to operate and those types of things. Of course, going to keep our eyes on this stuff as it plays out. We were very happy internally with the changes, but these are some pretty big adjustments. So we'll obviously be watching to see how they play out as you guys all take them and start playing a lot more games in the future. But that is not all.
But wait.
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
We've gone through points adjustments. We've gone through new battle forces. We've gone through adjustments to core rules and
cards,
some
new
upgrades.
units.
New cards, new units. No, that's what's next.
No, we did the strike teams.
Yeah, those were updated. They were updates to old stuff. Now it's time to talk about new stuff. Stuff that is being added as of today to the options and opportunities that you have. And we're going to start off with some brand new upgrade cards.
Woo!
Or no, we're not.
We're not. We're going to talk about
improvised orders, which we forgot.
We're improvising.
We're improvising
right now.
Yes. So last change before we get into the new stuff, improvised orders has changed quite a bit.
Solo just pop up anyway.
He's just right there. He's very confused because we missed his entrance. He was waiting the whole time.
Was that my cue?
Yeah, it wasn't. We really boffed that one.
Yeah. So improvised orders has 1 pip now, so you can only take 1 copy of it, and is now no longer has the clause that readies it immediately. Improvised orders allowed very, very, very consistent order pools, and then when a player was struggling through an inconsistent order pool, it then gave that consistency at a very cheap cost. We talked about increasing the cost of improvised orders. We talked about all this kind of stuff. Does it exhaust? Does it expend? Like, how does that kind of work? Other options, changing how it works, because we didn't particularly like that you could take 2, 3, 4 copies of it if you're feeling particularly saucy, and essentially just ignore your order pool. And this is something that we've worked on since the very beginning of our stewardship of the game, is sort of making the order pool a more primary part of the game, and improvised orders was undermining that a little bit. So our hope here is that by not increasing its cost, we can still see 1-ish copy in lists, and then by not having that free recover on it, we can sort of push it more into support commanders that don't necessarily have powerful combat actions or other things that they particularly want to be doing. They can recover that, or the ones that can get free recovers. I know one of our developers is really enjoying it on the Rex squad upgrade, which can get a free action after destroying a unit to then recover the improvised orders, which I think is pretty saucy. So yeah, that's kind of the idea behind that change, right? Is to make it less consistent. It's kind of a once per game effect, unless you want to pay the pretty hefty cost of recovering with a commander, or you can take a cheaper commander and then maybe that cost is less. So
sure. All right, now let's get to the new upgrades. I mean, improvised orders was changed enough that maybe we could count it as new, and then we wouldn't be wrong, but we were wrong.
I think we were wrong, yeah.
We were just wrong.
I don't finger wag.
All right.
Yeah.
I know. What happened, Summer? You're supposed to keep us in line here. Okay, so let's take a look at some brand new upgrades, starting with the Imperial Probe Droid upgrade and the Pike Syndicate Foot Soldier Squad upgrade. So yes, Black Sun, or yes.
Shadow Collective.
Shadow Collective, thank you. The Black Shadow, it's all in my brain. I'm really thrown off by the fact that we messed up that last slide.
The Black Sun Shadow Syndicate.
Yeah, the Black Sun Shadow
foot.
Syndicate. Shadow Collective, you now have 2 squads that you can upgrade into large form now that the Weequays are out as well.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't think you can do that with Black Suns. But
no.
We're not worried about that right now. Right now we're talking about Imperial Probe Droids. So this is an upgrade that can go inside of Empire units that combos very well with normal Probe Droid units. So when we were playing through all this kind of stuff, we liked the idea of all of these observe tokens from Probe Droids, but we wanted to give units a way to use their precise keyword and stuff for Stormtroopers specifically was kind of the big one here. But then we decided to bring it in Special Forces and support and all that kind of stuff because we wanted to see, like, why can't they? Why can't the Probe Droids hang out with them? That seems fine. So it lets you get those AIM tokens to do that kind of stuff. So that I think is really cool. And let me tell you though, on the table it just looks awesome to have all these probe droids floating around doing all sorts of crazy stuff with your stormtroopers. It looks so cool on the table, and it's also pretty powerful, especially in the stormtrooper battalion was kind of where this card came from. And we were originally like, we could just put it in stormtrooper battalion, but then we were like, why would we limit it to just the cool stormtrooper battalion?
There you go.
Everybody can have it.
Take it wherever you want.
So that was that one. And then the Pike Syndicate Foot Soldiers, very specifically, there's 2 things I want to call out about this upgrade. One, it does not have the clause that says you cannot be transported. So
yeah,
these
they'll
guys
just
can ride
hang
around
off
and
whatever.
Yep. So these guys can ride around and stuff, and then also you get an extra heavy weapon icon. So what that means is if you have, currently you own 2 units of Pike Syndicate soldiers, you could just take your second unit leader, set them aside, and squish them together. And there you go. You got to take different heavy weapons. You can't take the same one. This is just like the heavy response unit and all that kind of stuff. You cannot take the same upgrade more than once, so you do have to have both of your upgrades there. But this lets you get sort of a very large Pike Syndicate unit, which then lets you really utilize like Danger Sense and things like that that's on these units. And they become quite durable. So this is a really fun one that has led to some very different style Shadow Collective lists. And we've also seen it pop up in a couple of the other factions in playtests and stuff. It's been very cool.
All right, now let's move on to the next set of upgrades, which are, we have new characters, 2 new character upgrade cards for units for each of the factions. We're going to start off with Empire. So the Inquisitors are now able to be taken within very specific units. So 5th Brother can go into the Stormtrooper Riot squads, and 7th Sister can be taken in your Imperial Special Forces squads. And they add quite a bit to the units that they lead.
So both of them bring a very significant melee threat to those units, right? Riot squads are kind of already trying to get in there, and then with Spur, they can be really fast. If you take Imperial March, they can be silly fast, like comically so. But they will be suppressed, of course, at the end of that. But 5th Brother, that squad led is a powerhouse, right? It's something that your opponent has to answer very, very quickly, and that squad can be quite durable. And then 7th Sister gives you, she has sort of that saber throw built in, so at close range, those Special Forces units are going to be quite a punch. So, and then of course that Demoralize 1 really leans into that Demoralize theme that's built into Empire, suppression, all that kind of stuff. So I really, really like 7th Sister personally.
Yeah, I think it was a very fun way to kind of see these units, and then to provide hobby opportunity to really like customize kind of their personal retinue of these different squads and that kind of thing. We've seen that happen with a bit of Cassian and some of the other character updates. Let's go on to the next pair, which is going to be for Rebels. So we have Jyn Erso, who's coming in. She can lead the upcoming Guerrilla Troopers, but she can also go into a Special Forces Rebel Commandos or a Rebel Troopers unit. And then Commander Luke Skywalker, specifically this is not Jedi Knight, this is the Commander version. So we saw that glorious art where on the new unit card where he's kind of leading the charge to the Rebels. We definitely wanted to see him taking command of a Rebel Trooper or veteran unit. those folks who might have been around at Legion when the Hoth Flight Suit Special Edition Luke Skywalker was released. He goes great with those Rebel veterans. Yellow Jacket goes really great with the troopers, so you got some options there as well. But both of these characters are now being able to be added into their respective units, and they bring a lot of really neat stuff as well.
Yeah, Jin brings a lot of durability, and then a pretty substantial offensive punch, and of course suppressive is just always great, especially in melee. That can get you some real cheeky things going on. So that one's really exciting there, and Luke Skywalker makes this unit just quite tanky, and then also does a lot with suppression removal, which is something that Rebels can have a little bit of.
I love the hero-centric like beacon of hope kind of thing, where he attacks, and then all of a sudden someone else is they're no longer suppressed.
Like, we're doing it.
Like we're doing it.
Let's go.
He's leading the charge. Let's do this. But it's also interesting because you have to kind of play around that as you're looking at it. It does pair real great counterplay against the Demoralized that we saw earlier, and so you can get these really thematic kind of battles going on the tabletop that tell the story really great. And of course, you get more characters on the table, which is always very nice as well. I believe Republic is going to be next, so let's take a look. The 212 are now ready to join your units, with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Clone Commander Cody being able to be taken as well. Both of these guys bring some pretty interesting things to their units. Kenobi, ARF Troopers only, and then Clone Commander Cody, ARF Troopers or Clone Trooper Marksman only.
Obi-Wan makes ARF Troopers, I'm gonna say something I shouldn't, basically unkillable. They become immune to Pierce. If they buff a defense roll, you can re-roll it. They have low profile. They already have the save. They're going to get a surge token from the duo unit. Unkillable. And personally, my favorite type of ARF Troopers is melee ARF Troopers, which Obi-Wan brings quite a melee punch there with his lightsaber. So running up in there, taking the points, being very, very, very durable is really, really fun. And then Cody gets you a little bit of vehicle synergy inside of your army that you couldn't normally have before. So, yeah.
Yep. And then the last two, which I think were my favorites that we added, Asajj Ventress and General Grievous are going to be the new character upgrades for Separatist Alliance. Asajj goes into B1 battle droids or BX commando droids, and Grievous can go with B1s or IG-100 Magna Guard. And let me tell you, a Grievous-led IG-100 Magna Guard unit.
It's a house, for sure.
You say that the ARF Troopers are unkillable, well, Grievous will take that bet.
Fair. And then Asajj is kind of a bully. She likes to pick on units that are already suppressed or panicked, upgrading a bunch of her dice, either 4 red or upgrading a bunch of B1 or BX commando droid dice is really fun. Personally, I love her in B1s, just kind of screaming across the field, doing crazy stuff while the B1s take all the wounds for her as she's running in. It's a really good time.
Yep. And this is kind of, we talked a little bit about the clerical changes to Droid Trooper and how they cannot be suppressed, but then AI overrides that. You'll see as you look at this, when these characters lead the droids, they lose AI, obviously, because they're being led by a sentient non-droid creature. And so those changes kind of interplay with each other in a way that keeps the units going in a fashion that makes losing AI not a negative, right? So hopefully these connections kind of become more apparent in terms of how some things changed and why it matters as we move forward with this stuff. And how we're keeping that to make sense and not be like, well, if I take Asajj in my unit, I lose AI, and all of a sudden I can be suppressed, and that's not very cool.
Yes, yeah. So the changes are something that we've been working on for quite a while, and there's a lot of interlinked parts, and this is some examples of those interlinked parts.
But both these characters are very fun to play within their units.
Yes.
But Grievous and IG-100, like seeing that unit roll up, you're just like, oh, I'm in trouble. I am
The
in
boys get out of the bus.
trouble. Yes, it's wonderful. And then I think we have one more card to look at. We'll jump to that here real quick. And this is going to be for all of the Wookiees.
We call this a bonus card.
We call this a bonus card.
Yes.
So Chewbacca can now join basically any Wookiee unit.
Correct. Yes.
Between both Republic and Rebels.
He cannot join a chieftain, but
He cannot join a chieftain, that's true.
Close enough.
True.
Close enough. So Chewbacca makes this unit incredibly durable and hit incredibly hard, and it increases dice consistency by a wild amount, right? So he upgrades dice depending on the number of units or miniatures that are inside of the unit, which was a very clever thing here of showing like Wookiee strong together, like we're here, we're fighting, we're doing all these kind of things. So it's just been really fun to play this guy, and it does a lot to stop those smaller dice pools kind of chipping away, because you only get to upgrade 4 dice, 5 dice, something like that, depending on what you've taken inside of your unit. So unless they're committing significant firepower to the Wookiees, you're going to have those red saves, right? You're going to do those kind of things. So it really, really, really increases durability here.
Yeah, and really the the goal with the Chewbacca and the points changes in general to Wookiees is not necessarily if you're a Kashyyyk Defenders Battle Force fan, this probably doesn't quite get them there for you yet. That goes back to Pagani kind of talking about those changes are still in process. But our goal here with these changes is to make it so that taking a single unit or maybe 2 units of Wookiees within a consolidated Rebels force or Republic force now becomes much more interesting. Running a single Wookiee unit with Chewbacca can have dramatic impact on the overall army output, on what that unit is doing, on what your opponent has to do to counterplay. So slowly kind of reintroducing Wookiees into the wild, as it were, with these changes and the combined changes, and we're hoping to see that over the effect. And then, of course, we will continue to work on the battle force and what that needs to change in order to be both powerful but not overpowered,
And we're looking at
as
command
we go through
cards
stuff.
and unit stats and battle force rules for all those kind of things.
Yep.
That's kind of what's on the docket in the future.
Indeed. All right. And with that, I think we have
The most important part.
the
of the
most
update.
important part.
I
Yeah?
think it's very
Is
cool,
that-
personally.
Is that the next update?
No.
No?
Tours of Duty.
Oh, yeah.
Tours. How could you forget Tours
I
of
didn't
Duty?
forget Tours of
How
Duty.
could
I
you
was
do
just
that?
curious.
I just had a question.
More new stuff.
More new stuff.
We have 3 brand new story arcs that are going to be released today for Tours of Duty. Birth of a Legend, if you really want to focus on your Paragon story and kind of retell your own hero's journey. Birth of a Legend is very focused on that. The Weekend War, which kind of details an overall short, unexpected conflict that is very ferocious. Maybe you wind up on a desolate planet. Turns out it's not that desolate. Now all of a sudden you gotta fight a war to do it. And then if you're of the Weequay variety, or you just want to be a pirate, But if if you're feeling your inner Weequay,
Weequay-ish.
Weequay-ish, a pirate's life lets you throw together a scoundrelous band of rapscallions to go off and loot and smuggle and do all of those cool notorious scoundrel things.
My favorite part of a pirate's life is that if you complete the story arc and you win your mission, you get to steal a vehicle from another faction and add it to your roster.
Well, yeah, that's the heist. You got to have the heist, right?
You got to steal the thing, right?
But yeah, Tours of Duty, obviously something that we just really enjoy internally expanding and playing on. This is the first big update to that since we launched that rules. And as we've mentioned, all 3 of those can be played with any faction that you would choose.
Yes.
But that's not all for Tours of Duty.
But wait!
We also have some more stuff, which is there are brand new Paragon-only command cards that are going to be introduced to Tours of Duty, and you can earn these throughout play. And they do a lot of cool things in addition, both in the game and within the overall structure of Tours of Duty.
Yes, so we heard from players that because of the lack of characters in Tours of Duty, there were not enough sort of special command cards, meaning non-generic command cards that didn't have effects and things like that. So what we've done is we've built these 4 command cards to kind of replace the character command cards that you could normally get. And as your Paragon levels up, each time they level up, you'll get to pick one of these and add it to your command hand options. This is not the end of this. There's more of this coming. Those can be earned. These ones are just earned by leveling up. Our hope is that in the future we can have some that are earned through storylines and things like that. So more command cards coming to increase options for players to tell their story, right? And once again, we talked about this a lot when we were originally doing Tours of Duty, but I just want to say one more time, the goal of these, right, is to keep them rather generic so that you can build your story as to what you're doing with this. So that's the best of us, enemy down, objective complete, right? Like those are all you get to decide what objective you have completed with this card, things like that. We want you to tell your story. We want you to experience this in your way. So
you want to call it standing orders, and the fact that
it's no longer just standing orders.
Just standing orders, but
Yes.
it is standing orders.
It is standing orders.
You still only get one.
You still only get one, and you have to include a standing orders in your army. But this one now does stuff, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. It's a different option, so you can kind of decide. Although it is restricted to just your Paragon getting the order, so
Yes.
yeah,
So
you got to make that decision. But your Paragon, I mean,
That's
you're
your boy.
Paragon.
That's your boy.
It's your person. You gotta do that. So a ton of new Tours of Duty content. Obviously, we're really looking forward to continue to expand on the Tours of Duty experience as we move forward. with new story arcs, new stuff, all of that. Of course, new battle forces and those types of things as it makes sense for them to come out as we continue to work on them. And who knows what new updates or things in the future might be coming. We're continuing to work on all of that cool stuff as well. But with that, I think we can kind of say that we've covered it all.
Yes.
With the exception of, be sure to tune back in November for our second of the developer updates for 2026. We'll be, of course, covering new changes, new content, all of the stuff that we feel in terms of where the game is sitting. Overall, I think the last thing we have to discuss is kind of where our outlook is in terms of where Legion is right now.
Yep.
Kind of what we're kind of earmarking for the future, what we're watching and that kind of stuff. In general, as always, we're always going to be watching closely these changes that have been made in this update, doing the tweaking that is required, taking in all the data that we see from the gameplay. But from our internal testing and all that, we, of course, feel very confident that this moves the game in a positive direction, makes choices more interesting, makes the faction internal balances better, which is something that we continue to work on. As far as the list for the future, what do you got on it?
The future.
The future.
Well, we already talked about Wookiees a bunch.
We did.
Right? We're working on that kind of stuff. So kind of reevaluating all of the Battle Force specific Wookiee stuff is our goal there, right? So that's on our list as well. Firstly, I guess. Secondly, we're still looking at a lot of operatives and stuff and some commanders in terms of this kind of thing. We've had some very aggressive point drops on those. Some of that has worked out great. I don't think it has gone horribly wrong yet, but we'll see. So we're kind of still looking inside of that pool itself with kind of a focus specifically on like the mercenary bounty hunters and stuff is kind of where our main focus is right now. Not to say that there will not be things outside of that, but we are looking at those as well. And then, of course, we're always looking at missions and things like that. So.
Yep, and I would include the customizable commanders as something that we're still closely watching and monitoring to see how they impact the game. Obviously, something that was very brand new tech and brought a lot of options and opportunities. So far, I would say that they have been largely successful, but there are probably some tweaks to do in the future just to bring more things in line as we go forward with that. And yeah, I think those are kind of the big notes on the watch docket at the moment. Of course, there are always going to be things that come up. We're always watching all the community conversations, all of the different results and those types of things. But overall, I think from the internal kind of perspective and what we've seen within the community is that the game is in a very healthy state. It's little changes and little tweaks here and there. And then, of course, continue to push it forward into the vision that we have for the full, fledged second edition experience that players have been getting since last November. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We're going to throw up one more little fancy slide just to give a little tease of something brand new, but it is just art. Summer.
Now's the time. Summer, please.
Thank you so much.
Look at Chopper flying around.
Some glorious new Spectre Crew of the Ghost art that was done by our fabulous art team. Of course, we showed the miniatures in the case at Adepticon, but we just wanted to go ahead and go out on a really high note. This was an amazing piece for the unit. So we'll see you in November. Again, thank you so much for all of your support, for all of your passion, all your dedication to playing the games. We couldn't do what we get to do every day without you all being as engaged and passionate as you are. And we will continue to do our best to make sure that we are strong stewards of this game and continue to build it towards success for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. With that, thank you so much for joining us. Peace out.
Bye.